Hell, man, this Guns, Knives, and Watches. We gonna have us one of them wild video type experiences tonight. It's a Friday, man. It's time to party, man. Woo! But actually, I'm tired, so this is kind of the way you're gonna have to take me. So Guns, Knives, and Watches, unfortunately, takes a lot of energy, and I gotta turn the stupid level way up too high. And this video is kind of important. Because it's me learning, and I really enjoy learning, and I can be taught by anyone. Remember, no one's always wrong, no one's always right. So listen to the people you hate the most sometimes, and don't always trust the people you like the most, because it's just the way it works. But Mrs. Guns, Knives, and Watches and I were sitting down there having one of them there conversations last night. And of course, I've got knives just everywhere. Because I'm testing things, I'm thinking about things, I'm drawing things, I'm doing this, there, the other, over and over and over again. And I'm just going to tell you that some of Mrs. Guns, Knives, and Watches' favorite knives are, of course, Swiss Army knives, and basically anything from Buck, and this is I think a Buck 110 in paper stone, which means it's not a Buck 110, but it's the same pattern. And paper stone, of course, is the phenolic resin. But and of course, she uses this Infidel, and this is the mini Infidel. And of course, it had to go off to Benchmade for service because there was a problem with it, but of course they fixed it, sent it back, this, there, the other, and all that crap. Okay, here's the story. This, of course, this Spyderco Delica, and this is the Delica 4 with the saber grind, all the other crap, was of course the knife that I chose to go into my pack. Why was that? And why I put so much thought and effort into this was because, number one, it's a $50 knife. If you break it, lose it, something, this, there, or the other, it's not that big a deal. It's not one of your prized possessions that you've spent hours and hours and hours on. Two, it's a lockback, so it's pretty strong locking mechanism, and the size of it, because of the people in my family are not the largest, and so, they have smaller hands. They're not as familiar with knives, this, there, the other, And, of course, Mrs. Guns, Knives, and Watches was going through and just picking up knives, opening and closing them, this, there, the other. And basically, we got to a knife. And, of course, this is her Infidel. So, she, of course, loves that one. And, of course, we went into, we have, of course, a Swiss Army Farmer in our cook kit in the backpack. And she went to the Cold Steel and had the same problem I have, especially if I do it right-handed. Now, left-handed, I don't have the problem, but right-handed, for some reason, because I'm not right-handed, I can't get the same type of, and I have to move my hand up a little bit, just to get it to kind of go. And as I said, it doesn't happen with my left hand, but it does my right. So she had that problem, so that knife's out. And of course, I showed her this knife because, of course, I had it in the pack. And me being all-knowing and all-wise, of course, can pick out the perfect knife for someone, right? And just because of, all of these other different characteristics, I can do that, right? Yeah, sure. Let everyone pick out their own gear. And just don't assume, don't make assumptions. Well, she got to this knife, the Adamas, of course. And, of course, if you know Mrs. Guns, Knives, and Watches, she's relatively small. I mean, she's not even 100 pounds. And she was able to actuate this knife very proficiently, and of course knew exactly how to operate the lock. And and this was just in her hand the first time. I mean, this is not, here, let me show you how to do it. No, she just knew. And the reason she knew is because she used to carry, I guess what you would call a switchblade. Now she carries an OTF. But it was of course an assisted opener. And the button, the way it unlocked and everything, was pretty similar to this one. Not exactly, of course. This is an Axis lock. It's patented this there, the other and she was able to operate it just buttery smooth. Gave her that one, and of course this is the Benchmade Osborne 940, and she was able to operate it, and she fell in love with this knife immediately, and as many people do in their hands, because it's not a cheap knife, and neither is the Adamas. And then of course, I pulled out this knife, and like, aha, this should fit your hand and everything should work perfectly, and it just didn't. She didn't like it as much as she did these other knives. I know there's a huge cost difference. This is a much cheaper knife than either one of these two, or really anything else on the table other than the Farmer. But these knives were the knives that she actually chose to go into the pack. The reason I didn't, and the reason I stayed away from them, was because I didn't know if, let's say, I'm dead, injured, in a ditch somewhere, whatever, off, running through the fields, singing songs, music, or some stupid shit like that. Is it songs, music? Sound of music. Sound of music, gotcha. I didn't know if they would be able to use the locking mechanism. So I didn't put this in the pack when we went out of town, just because of that. Well, I was wrong. Sue me. It's just, it happens. I'm sure it happens every day. If you just can do better than flipping a quarter, then you're having a great day. If I haven't made a wrong decision in a day, then I'm just not making any decisions. It's just the way it works. Someone who's always right is a really good liar, but more importantly, what they actually do is they place all the blame for every wrong thing on somebody else. And I know a lot of people who are like that, who will not take the blame, and they are always right, and this, there, the other, and Unfortunately, I'm not that way, but even when I'm wrong, I expect people to listen to what the hell I have to say. But here's the deal. These two knives are the ones they chose. She chose. So, they're going in the pack. This one's coming out. Now, this is her concealed carry knife, so that one's not involved. This is in our cook kit. That's not involved. Now, if we're going between these two knives, which one are you going to choose? And that's a choice that you're going to have to make based on size, weight, what your needs are that given day, what you believe your needs could possibly be. Because do we actually ever know what's going to happen in a given day? If you make a plan and your life goes straight to that plan without any variation or without any wandering, then maybe you're not learning, because the more you learn, the more you experience, the more randomness, this, that, or the other, or you're just maybe not open to randomness, and that's fine too. Some people just do not like randomness and like the rigidity of staying with a plan without ever evolving it. But basically, which knife? The 940, of course, is a smaller, lighter knife, much easier to use in a pack. S30V steel. This Siebert, of course, is a D2 steel. and of course is just a much heavier built knife. And of course the axis lock is probably a lot stronger in this there or the other. The Achilles heel, and I don't know if I've said this yet, on these two knives are actually those springs that make the axis lock function. And there is one on each side, and you can see it there. And if those break, then like springs do, especially the more in which they're used, then the locking mechanism basically fails and the knife becomes basically unusable unless you were to take something and just basically, whittle you a little piece of stick or something and then jam it through there and basically create, put tension on that axis lock in order to keep it from coming back. And I guess in a situation where you didn't need to close the knife and this, there, or the other, and you're using it, you could do that. But I don't know. For weight, general EDC, this, there, or the other, this one's going in it. I guess when we go out into the wilderness, I'm going to wind up and carry this one, which is about 7 ounces. It's a very heavy knife, very big knife, but if Mrs. Guns, Knives, and Watches gets what Mrs. Guns, Knives, and Watches wants. So if she can learn to use a knife of that size and shape of blade, because that is basically a chisel ground with a with one of my sharpening jobs on it. She's good. So basically, these 4 are her knives of choice out of all the knives that I have. Funny. My basic thing is, she's got pretty good taste. This is Guns, Knives, and Watches. Have a good one. And get everybody involved. You never know what you might learn. My kids love these, but they love the full flat ground colored jobs. Peace out.